Let's try to build such a button component with Figma variables. Currently, I have absolutely no variables in this file, and the button I would like to build has these many properties, and these are the values for each of the respective property I would like to have. So I would like to go to Variable Visualizer plugin. I will simply ask the AI, can you create me the most comprehensive variable structure that supports such a button? And then I will just copy and paste it here. I will fix some of the styling issues, and in the beginning I would like to have a primitive collection, and that gets aliased to the color mode collection, and yada yada yada, everything in between. But in the end, what I need is a output button collection that house only what is required for the button itself, like button background color and button text color and border, etc. So make sure the variables are aliased all the way, and you have to pay attention to what collection having what modes, what collection doesn't need to have any modes. Let's start by creating the first 3 collections and tell me what you need to do next step. Let's split this up in step by step. Okay, so let's send it. So let's take a look at what is being created. So we have the primitives, and we have the, what is this, the color mode that has the light and dark, and then we have the semantic states. So the color mode and the semantic state is here. We will cross out this and this. So what we need is the shape, size, intent, etc. So we're going to continue this conversation. Awesome. Now can you continue in creating the next 2 collections, perhaps the interactive state and the shape collection? Make sure that yeah, you keep up the good aliasing, but if they don't need aliasing, don't do aliasing. Oh my god, it didn't pick up these words that I said. Alright. Let's see. If it is able to do this and this, then we only have this size and intent left. Let's see, so these are the interactive states, and we have the shape, which is okay. The shape collection actually needs to have modes because like I said, it's the pill or the rounded, and also I want you to create the final collections, which are the intent and the size, and then in the end we need to also have a output collection. So let me actually send this here in case that it forgot. There. Let's see if it is able to, because oh, maybe this is kind of like he's trying to make this as the primitive. Let me see if I actually have those in primitive. No, but those should actually go in the primitive, I think, and then the shape controls like the. Alright, so let's see what it did. Alright, so now the shape has, wait, okay, so that's not right on the shape itself. So the intent and the size is there as well. You know, I think what I would like to do is I would just first of all yeah, I would just actually delete this mode and name this the default, and I will copy 3 of these, and then I will paste it here inside of the primitive. Did I copy? How about I just drag them here, and then I will just delete the shape collection. Okay, recreates me the shape collection, the alias from the primitive border radius rounded, and the border radius pill. What the shape collection needs to have are 2 modes, the pill mode and the rounded mode. And in the end, I want you to create me the output collection for the button that consists of all the required variable that doesn't have any mode. I don't know if it understands this. I'm mumbling, but let's see. So wait, oh, the intent has the oh, it actually forgot what the intent that I want. So these are the button, these are the shape, and the shape is linked to where? The shape is linked to the border radius, right? Yeah, I will let it adjust the intent, but before that I would like to have it apply all of these to the button, which I don't have yet. I will just create one real quick. Let's start a new chat. Like, it's forgetting a lot of the stuff because it's getting long. And can you apply all the variables in the button collection and bind them to what I have selected, and don't forget the text layer inside of it? Exhaustive binding required. Yeah, let's see. And then there we go. So let's see what the button is now capable of. The button has the color mode that you can switch between the dark and light. I don't know if you can see. It has the size, medium, large, small, and it has the shape, rounded, pill. It has the different states, idle, hover, pressed, and it has the intent, which is now the primary and secondary. I wouldn't say that is bad. I probably will still need that, but I will call it type. I would actually just call that intent type. Okay, and so we're gonna have like the type primary, secondary, but I'm gonna have my intent back. So this is the intent. Oh wait, so I have this intent. I forgot, it's my fault. So I actually it actually did an amazing job. So these are my intent. I forgot. So no, what is the other thing? That is actually the these are what I'm talking about. So the semantic states, the warning, the error, the success, etc. And if I go to dark mode, they change accordingly. And so you see, this is how it is done with variables. And how many variables we have? Probably, yeah, you have 4 variables here. You can see you have 6 variables here. You have 10 variables here. And in the primitive, of course, you have everything. That don't forget that these are also going to be reused by, most of these are going to be reused by other components as well. So when we add more and more components, these are not going to increase linearly. They're just I'm probably gonna have another, for example, chip that reuse a lot of the same stuff, the same shape, the same size, etc. Because it needs to, if it is like an input, right, you can imagine that it uses the same size with the button, so that when you put them together left and right, they align with each other. So but if you compare how we can build the same thing in the traditional way, which is that you have to create this button, and let's make this a component, give it auto layout, and then 16:8. Okay, I'll just do some copy. I will show you what it's like to build this manually, right? So what we have is this. If we build it in the variants, we're gonna have to click here in the variants and say, first of all, this is gonna be my size, and I want a size small, medium, large. So small is probably, yeah, what do I want to be the default? I probably want the medium to be the default. I want the large here, and then let's also have another one that is the small. And then they're gonna have probably different stuff, like this large. It's gonna be, of course, larger, so probably something like this, and then this small is something smaller like this, perhaps. And then it's gonna you're gonna need intent. So pay attention here. If I want to add the intent here, what do I need to do? I need to first of all make all of these, rename, current name, intent equals secondary, and then I will duplicate all of this. This is what you absolutely need to do, and then name them primary. And so what happens in primary? I probably do something like this. Yeah, and this is my primary button. And then if I want to add the shape now, so I need to first of all again select all of these, rename, current name here, and then shape equals square. Yeah, let's do rounded. Let's actually give all of them like a 6 corner radius. Is that enough? Probably. Yeah, and then you need to duplicate all of them again. Just to have one more shape. These are gonna be shape what? Shape pure. And then in the pure, I'm going to give them 9 and a 9. So now I have what? I have the size, the intent, and the shape, and I need the color mode. So the color mode, in order to do that, we're gonna do this again. So we're gonna current name, color mode equals light, and then we're going to duplicate all of them, and we're gonna say color mode dark. And what to do with the color mode dark, I don't really know. If I, yeah, probably just for the demo, do something like this. There are human errors that can kick in, every step along the way. That's just the way of life. If when you're building it this way. So these are the color mode, right? So how many did we cross? Well, I didn't even keep track of it. So we have the intent, we have the size, we have the color mode, we have the shape, and now comes this semantic state and the interactive state. Can you take a guess how many of these I will need to end up with that I need to maintain? Now it's already 42, but from here it goes. This is like a monkey job, but it never ends. I need another 3 hours to do this. Actually, this is too much. So let's sum it up. All right, I don't want to continue to having to do this. This is like a crucifixion for me. But this was the way before variable came about. If we're talking about 2022. You have to do it this way. I also did it this way, but now this is 2025 today. and a lot of people are missing the potential of Figma variables. What Figma variable enable is parametric design. Before explaining what is that parametric design, I want to first bring you to look at what is this. So these are, if I want to change among all of these, if I want to say that I want to change the small size to something else, I can go to the main component to see where this is. This is here. So I can change it here. But then you have to change all the other places where it's also size small. I just built it, so I know that the size small is this column right here. But it's human error. It's me deciding like what exact combination, what exact variant to change. Yes, Figma did provide this right here, so you can quickly select all the small variants, but this doesn't solve the core problem. It is human maintaining this. And human makes mistakes. That's human. So like if I just unselected these one variable, how can you catch me? How can you ever catch me? You cannot. And so when you want to implement this in code, you better explain what happened here. You cannot. And it's impossible for you to even find that. So amongst all of these different combinations, how are you even possibly finding the one that has been mistaken? You cannot. So this is not this is what it means not parametric. This is what I call a combinatory explosion. So when you want to add more, so now I stopped here at the warning, and we're gonna plus another, how many of these? These are 12. Wait, is it? No. These amounts. So these are 24. So we're gonna have another 24 here, another 24 here. So let's do the math, right? So that is already 72 plus 24 plus 24. That gives us 120. And then here we're gonna time that by 2, so that is this much. And then you're gonna plus another 120, 120, 120, that you end up with 600. That is my rough math calculation to have all of these. So amongst the 600 buttons, if any one of them or 2 or 3 of them have any sort of error, you're done. You don't have any scalability, maintainability, code alignment, logic, none of those. What is this? This is designer's defecation. And so what is parametric then? Parametric is that whenever I decide to have a property, what does that property govern? Or in other words, what is the responsibility of that property? I mean, this large, small, medium, they governs these paddings. This is what they govern. They might also govern the font size, but you decide their boundary. Each of them needs to have a single responsibility. What are they doing? What do they govern, right? So then let's look at the graph, and then you will understand. So the size here, they only governs the horizontal padding, vertical padding, the font size as well. Like I said, the font size actually do change from small to medium to large, you see, and the line height as well. So yeah, that's their responsibility. You can easily check. They have these responsibilities. This is what they govern. And about the fill is governed by multiple layers. So it's the intent governs the fill, but also it depends on what interactive states you have selected. So let me show one example of how to debug if there is some bug here. So I intentionally made a bug here so that when I am on secondary error, it looks wrong, right? It looks like it's bluish. So in this case, how can we debug in a parametric way? So if it is built in this parametric way, it's very easy to debug, because you can already see as soon as I have this selected, what is this background color? It is this. But clearly that is not the same color. So I have selected different modes here. So this is in the dark mode, and it is intent secondary, and it is on semantic error. So let's do that. If I am on dark mode, and this is the semantic error, and it is on intent secondary, see, this is exactly the background that it has. Let's trace back where that is from. So this is from this intent here. It's already this wrong color. That is, I am on the secondary, and here I am on the idle, because I just changed the idle to have that mistake. Other places you don't even have that mistake. So you can clearly see that this is the error, and then right here it is using this color. If we want to change this, we can just unplug that and plug it to something that probably works, right? So let's, for example, take this gray 50, and that looks better. So once you change this one place, all the other places, look, you don't need to care about the rounded or pure, because it is parametric. So this one, so you change this one place, this secondary BG, you change this alias in one place, it actually changes the logic internally, and so you don't have to worry about, okay, what about the size small, did I change that color? What about the size large, did I change that color? You don't have all of these variants to worry about. So I got a lot of people asking me, so if you just have this one component instead of these millions of components that they love, how do you debug? How do you know when something went wrong, where to look for? You do not need that, because these are the question that they ask is brought by this insane deprecation approach that they cling on to. And so if you actually use one button and build this parametrically, each parameter has a very limited scope of responsibility. It's just that one tiny change that you do, and that affects that particular parameter. So you don't. There is also another place that you can actually check. So if you're on dev mode, you can actually go to this. I haven't made this a component yet. Sorry. So let's make it a component. So you can actually check explore component behavior. This is where you can check all of the different variations of this. So yeah, you don't have all of this puke right here, because they are based on parameters, and since they are based on parameters, they are resilient to these minor human errors that can crawl in from every which angle. So this is the benefit. And also, when you build this component, if you tell AI to build this component, AI only ever have to use the same exact variable binding you have used in your design. As long as that is true, that's basically job done. And all of the variable value resolution logic, depending on the mode of each collection used, depending on the aliasing chain, all of that is already done in Figma, which serves as the single source of truth, because it's always going to be directly exported or pushed to code. And as for the exported JSON, nobody's going to read it. AI doesn't read it, human doesn't read it. It's just like the electric wiring behind your wall or inside your floor. You probably don't see it every day if it is not broken, but is it there? Does it work? Yes. So not only is this parametric approach more resilient to human error, but it is also directly designed to dev aligned and also AI facing, and it is also much more scalable and much more maintainable. So let's compare, pretend that now we already have 600 variants here. Let me find the symbol for the variants right here. Then if we want to add another control, that is the brand. So I don't have the brands here. So let's actually, why not, right? So if there is brand A or B. So you're gonna have to time this by 2. You end up with this much. How do you maintain that? And how do you let AI build all of these as a component? That is too much to ask for. So yeah, let's see how to do that here. So if we have a brand, we simply add a brand. You would think that I need to do a lot, but it's actually the bare minimum. Let me actually just copy some of these. Yeah, let's just do this, for example, right? And so this is the brand A, and then we're gonna also have a brand B, and we're gonna, for brand B, use something different. Let's say something pink. I mean, I would have let AI did this much better, but whatever. So, and that's done. That's done. So now this button, you have your brand, and let's look at the default primary button. Brand A looks like this, brand B looks like that, and then no matter what different size, what different shape, what different whatever, it works. This is what is called parametric. So you add something, its responsibility is what is changing these primitive colors, then it only change the primitive colors between the two modes. Why not, right? So you would think that I need to duplicate the entire thing. No, that's this prehistorical diarrhea approach. Alright, so comment down below if you would like to see me walk you through how to implement this in code via AI in MCP, because this video is already getting too long. And feel free to absolutely just drop all the questions that you have, and I am willing to answer them all. And that's gonna be it, guys. Have a good one. Bye bye.